representing Sharon Hospital. My name is Carrie Eaton. I'm the Chief Operating Officer for what is now called NewVance, which is the integration between Western Connecticut Health Network, which I think is actually very exciting for Sharon, and HealthQuest. And this morning, really, it's my distinct pleasure to introduce Denise George. Denise George has been with our healthcare organization. I was looking at her bio this morning. I was like, Denise, you've been here for 20 years. August is her 20-year anniversary. Isn't that kind of cool? She thinks she should have a party, and I do too. So Denise has been here for 20 years. Denise is a nurse by background and actually has expertly run and been the CEO and president of Northern Dutchess Hospital in Rhinebeck since 2007. And I'm just going to share with you a couple of accomplishments that Denise has had in her tenure as president of Northern Dutchess Hospital. Since she was there in 2016, she transformed the organization by opening a $47 million patient pavilion, and she's helped Northern Dutchess grow to a 91,000 visit outpatient organization, 6,000 admissions, and 900 births in 2018. She really has worked with the medical community there and the local community to develop an excellent program in orthopedics, bariatric surgery, oncology. Most recently last year, an infusion center was opened, and interventional radiology. 4 months ago, when Peter Cordeaux, who actually joined us today, so Peter's in the audience, thank you. When Peter was transferred to Norwalk Hospital, became president of Norwalk Hospital, I called Denise and we talked about what ideas we might have to provide excellent leadership for Sharon Hospital in the interim. And Denise agreed to come and work and lead Sharon Hospital through the transition while we search for a permanent president. Her depth and breadth of experience, her relationships with the community, her experience in the relationships with the medical staff have served Sharon well. She's identified opportunities in this community and has been working to establish ideas and strategies for the growth of the organization to follow. I'm really delighted that she came here. She's a wonderful leader and a wonderful colleague to me, so if you would please give her a warm introduction.
Thanks, Carrie. To get started, I'd like to introduce some community officials. We have Brent Colley here, our selectman. Who's Brent? Okay. Vicki Parati, town supervisor of the media. And I apologize if there's somebody else that I needed to introduce. So welcome. Also, I'd like to introduce the chair of our board. Jill Jones is here from the Sharon Hospital board, as well as Mimi Tannen, who's a board member. She's there next to Peter. And Dr. Soucier, who is a board member, and the president of our medical staff. He's also from our medical staff, Dr. Ron Santos, who runs our emergency room. I suspect some of you probably know him. And I'd like to just welcome the team from HealthQuest who's here, and most importantly, the team from Sharon Hospital. Where is Christina, our Chief Nursing Officer? Where is she? She's there. And the rest of the team sitting around with them. They're amazing to work with. So, Carrie, thank you for that introduction. What I can tell you in my 4 months tenure here is that I am so pleased to be part of a great team at Sharon Hospital, and I'm going to share with you some of the wonderful things that are happening. I'm also pleased to be part of this community. It is very engaging and very involved, supportive community, and I'm very pleased. I am used to small hospitals, and I am used to communities being engaged, so it really works for me. So, that being said, Carrie mentioned the word interim president, and so we are still looking for a permanent president for Sharon Hospital. So we've vetted candidates. So far we haven't quite hit the nail on the head. We're working with the board on that. But more importantly, while I'm here, as long as I'm here, I'm 100% committed to carrying out the goals that we've set forth for implementing the strategic initiatives and working with employees and the medical staff. So what I want to share today, I want to talk about some of those initiatives. I want to also talk about our employees. And most importantly, I want to talk about quality and safety. As a nurse and a consumer, quality and safety is number one. And really the buck stops here. And so we've done an amazing job at Sharon in terms of quality and safety. And just over the past several months, we've gotten 2 recognitions. One is from the Center for Medicare and Medicaid, CMS, and we are a 4-star hospital in terms of quality, safety, and other activities. So what does that mean to be a 4-star hospital? First of all, we're 4 out of 5, so that's pretty good. Additionally, on the right there, you'll see the way that CMS scores hospitals, and they score over 3,500 hospitals in the country. The way they do it is based upon patient safety, readmissions, patient experience. You can read the list here. The top 4 are really heavily weighted, and I don't know if you can see what that is actually saying, but in terms of patient safety, preventing preventable readmissions, and the patient experience, we are above the national average. The rest of the domains there we're at the national average, and those are some of the things that we're working on to improve. But, so this is really an amazing accolade for Sharon Hospital. In Connecticut, there are obviously a lot of hospitals in Connecticut. There were 9 other hospitals in Connecticut that had a 4-star. I can tell you there were quite a few 1-star hospitals in Connecticut as well. So, great job to the team, and this doesn't happen by accident, it does not happen organically. This type of work happens, this type of improvement in care happens because we are continuously implementing best practices and holding ourselves accountable so that we have the best possible outcomes for our patients. The other activity that just happened, or award, is the Leapfrog safety grade, and we got an A. So some of you probably know what Leapfrog is. It's basically a consortium of employers that got together and wanted to ensure that their employees got the best care possible and that the care was efficient. So they grade over 2,600 hospitals across the country. It's a voluntary participation, and we got an A for safety. Again, what we're looking at, and what this means is that year over year we have seen great outcomes, and we keep our patients safe. We prevent harm to our patients. So I didn't want to give you too many graphs, but I did want to show you something. It's really important. We all hear about infections that can happen in hospitals, hospital-acquired infections. And I'm very proud to say that we have had 0 infections in central lines, C. diff. We all hear about C. diff and MRSA infections. We've had 0 year over year. On the right is a graph, and it's showing our improvement in our mortality ratio. And basically, you can see from 17 to 19, we've actually improved dramatically, and now we're actually going to be better than the national average going forward. So I wanted to take a pause and just reflect on where our patients come from. This is our primary service area. Covers 3 counties. Obviously Litchfield, Dutchess, and Columbia, 2 states. And if we look at how we're doing at the hospital in terms of patients coming to Sharon, what we're seeing are basically our discharges are up slightly year over year. So this is comparing 17 to 18. Total ED visits are just about flat. So patients are coming. So who are our patients? Who's coming? And essentially, what we see are a lot of medical patients. So these are patients with pneumonia, cardiac diagnoses, strokes. Also, obviously, we have maternity. We have senior behavioral health patients. So we run the gamut. What I am really pleased about is we've seen an uptick in the number of patients coming to Sharon Hospital for joint replacements and for sports medicine. So we have some great orthopedic surgeons on staff, and we have wonderful outcomes, and so patients are staying locally now for orthopedic surgery. We've also seen quite an increase in some other services, in particular a new service that we started, I think it was last year, pain management. Maybe last year, maybe before. Pain management is really in demand. I guess as we get older, we all have aches and pains, and pain management certainly can help. And so we've seen that. Radiology is very strong, and cardiology at the hospital. So I want to spend a minute on demographics. So basically what we are seeing, and what we anticipate to see over the next 9 years is a 26% increase in the 65 to 84-year-old cohort. Sadly, that means that many of us are aging, and that's better than the alternative, right? The corollary to this is that there is a decrease in the number of 40 to 64-year-olds, and there's a rather startling, it's looking at like a rather startling decrease in the 0 to 14-year-olds at 17%. Again, that's a projection that people smarter than me figure out, and it is over the next 9 years. So 0 to 14 really makes me nervous with that type of decrease, because that bodes very poorly for who's going to take care of us when we get older, who is having babies, and who is going to work in the community. So we have some challenges there with that. So I want to talk about what we're doing at the hospital in terms of strategy and growth first. And obviously something happened on April 1st, which many of you I'm sure know about, which is that HealthQuest, the 4 hospitals in HealthQuest came together with the 3 hospitals in Western Connecticut to form Nuvance Health. And so Dr. John Murphy, who is the CEO of Nuvance, could not be here today, but we do have a video for you.
We're here to share some exciting news. HealthQuest and Western Connecticut Health Network have officially joined forces to create an innovative new health system.
Today we begin working together as a unified system dedicated to providing community members across the Hudson Valley and Western Connecticut with more convenient, accessible, and affordable care.
It's no secret that healthcare is changing, and today's consumers have greater choice. To ensure our continued success, we must carefully manage our business so we can deliver our mission for generations to come. We've accomplished great things separately. Together we can do even more.
Our new organization includes more than 2,600 physicians and 12,000 employees who together are committed to bringing the highest quality healthcare services to our patients and communities. By coming together, we can share best practices across our 7 hospitals, our expanded ambulatory network, and our system affiliates, all with the goal of enhancing the patient, physician, and employee experience.
The new health system will bring new physicians, programs, and services to our communities. It will also provide employees new roles and opportunities, plus a chance to work with some of the best in the industry. Over the next few months, we're going to spend time with our team members, leaders, and physicians to help shape the new organization, working to unite our cultures and create one winning team. So how do we start? To truly come together as one, we have chosen to move forward with a single unifying name. The new name for our organization is Nuvance Health. Nuvance is derived from a combination of the words new and advance. Our new name helps to convey who we are as an organization and where we are headed. Our new name symbolizes the great change underway. It also reinforces that we are one unified organization coming together for the betterment of those we serve.
A change of this size and importance
strive to move forward, to improve daily, and push past the status quo in everything we do. It's our relentless pursuit to redefine what our patients and employees expect. This mindset inspired our new name, Advanced Health. Organizational change, integration, and the creation of a new brand are part of the journey, and it is one we are excited to be on with all of you.
We'd like to thank you for all the hard work and care you have given to our patients, communities, and one another. You've done an outstanding job, and we are so excited to begin our new future together as New Advanced Health.
So, that's a lot more than an infomercial. I'm really excited about this. I know Carrie said that I've worked for HealthQuest for 20 years, but I am really excited for Sharon and the Sharon community that we have Connecticut hospitals in our system now. Obviously, we're going to be working very closely with New Milford and Danbury to create synergies for some of our strategies, and in particular, physician recruitment, which, as we know, is very difficult. You may not know, but I can tell you it's extremely difficult, not just in Northwest Connecticut, but all over this region, physician recruitment. So I'm really excited, and I want you to just remember that we just got together April 1st. Prior to April 1st, even though this was in the works, we were not allowed to talk with Western Connecticut about strategy and share ideas because of antitrust issues, so legally we could not. Now we are talking, and I've started that dialogue with our colleagues, physician colleagues and physician leaders in the Western Connecticut hospitals. So, in the meantime, we have been investing in recruiting physicians to the community. We've certainly not done as well as we would like, which is why I'm excited about Western Connecticut. But we do have a new primary care doctor coming to the Kent area. Her name's Catalina Nicolau, and she'll be starting over the summer. So I will tell you, primary care is the most important thing we need to accomplish for this community and our service area. It is the most important. Without that, everything stops. So primary care, we want to recruit more. There's opportunities, and we see gaps that we need to fill, so we do have one. Dr. Jimenez is joining us also over the summer, and he's, if you do happen to come to the hospital, you will see him. He's a hospitalist, so he'll be working with Dr. Marshall. Dr. Marshall is our director of the hospitalist program, as well as our vice president of medical affairs, and he decided not to join us today because he's in Spain, so lucky him. We've recruited a few, some nurse practitioners who are going to be working in senior behavioral health. I'll talk about that in a minute, and pain management. Additionally, some PAs to support orthopedics, physicians to support wound care and cardiology. But we have a lot more work to do. So the three areas that we hear from our physicians, we've done focus groups with our physicians, are for recruitment: primary care, surgery, general surgery, and oncology. So just yesterday, I learned that we have a new lead physician across New Vance for medical oncology. It's a physician who's come to us from Northwestern, so we're very well trained, and she is going to spearhead for New Vance oncology, and with that recruitment as well. We've also been in discussions with a major academic center to partner with them for oncology services. So more to come on that, but very tuned into where the gaps are, working diligently to fill them. But again, number one is primary care. So since number one is primary care, one of the things that HealthQuest, Legacy HealthQuest has in the works starting July 1st is we are starting graduate medical education programs. What does that mean? That means we're going to be training residents. So these are obviously folks that finished medical school, and now they need a 3 or four-year residency program. And so we have 3 surgical residents joining Vassar. We have internal medicine, I believe it's about 24 residents. And then family medicine, we have 8 residents joining Northern Dutchess. So at this point, they're not coming to Sharon yet, but they will. But the great part of doing this, and one of the main reasons to do it, is because these residents will get to see how amazing our communities are, and some of them will stay. So we will be training the future physicians for this region. I'm very excited about that. The following year, we will be starting in 2020, we will be starting other programs, training programs, OBGYN. We'll talk about that in a minute, but we certainly know there's a shortage there, and psychiatry in particular, and emergency medicine. So we're looking forward to that. Sorry. Okay, so behavioral health. We have a senior behavioral health inpatient program. We serve over 300 patients a year who come and are treated in our inpatient unit. There is a demand for this service from all over the region. And when I'm talking region, I'm talking not just local region, but surrounding Massachusetts, Rhode Island, Southern New York, etc. So basically, we have a 12-bedded unit, and what we are in the process of doing is expanding that to become 17 beds. That is, it's a needed service, not only for the community, but for the larger region. And also, these are very complex patients. So it really, it's a really great investment for us all to make to provide the service. So we are opening in, the expansion will open in sometime in August after we get the state approval. And so it's about just over a $3 million investment that we've been doing to do the expansion and to enhance the accommodations for those patients. So I don't live under a rock, and I certainly know how passionate the community is about maternity at Sharon. And we've heard you, and it is our commitment to continue to provide these services. So you can see here, interestingly, the first quarter of the year, we had a little, we've actually seen an uptick compared to the first quarter last year. This is our 3-year trend. It is certainly down over the past 3 years. However, we made a commitment, and I want to tell you how we're honoring that commitment. Our commitment is to keep it open. And so what have we done? We've hired nurses. We continue to recruit and train those nurses. So that's underway. So the unit is fully staffed. We have 24/7 anesthesia services, for which we pay on-call pay to. Those physicians are also covering the rest of the hospital, so should a patient need an epidural or an emergency C-section, we're there for them. We also provide for 24/7 newborn coverage with on-call pay to our pediatricians. And we have 3 OB physicians on staff. We do provide call pay for them as well to help make this be sustainable for them. So that was our commitment. We're in it, and we look forward to continuing to strengthen maternity, the volumes if possible. It will be a challenge given the demographics, but we do look forward to that. We continue to do other capital investments aside from the senior behavioral health. Some of it was in the radiology area to get some new technology. We have the 3D mammo that we got, I believe it was December. We've enhanced some other equipment. We have invested in new orthopedic and urology equipment as well. Some of this is, we also have invested in the actual infrastructure of the hospital. Again, this is not very glamorous stuff, but obviously we have to maintain roofs and make the building secure and to continue to renovate certain areas. So that's underway. I did want to take a minute to talk about our employees because really they're the heart of the hospital. And on the left is Pam, and she's a radiology technologist. She actually does MRI and nuclear medicine, so she's an overachiever. And that is her daughter. First of all, Pam's worked at the hospital 15 years. Her daughter, Jenna, was inspired by her mother and her mother's passion for taking care of patients. So Jenna became an occupational therapist, and Jenna is also working at Sharon Hospital. So it's a great story, and we certainly need more Pams and Jennas. Okay. So what are we doing to attract employees? So we have about 300 FTEs. We have seen growth from last year in key positions. We certainly are recruiting in the areas listed here. But one of the most important things we did was we took a look at how we were compensating our employees, and we made it better. We invested over $1 million in giving them a more competitive salary. We went to the board, got the approval of our board, thank you, and it has helped to recruit. And then to retain, we're really working on development and recognition programs with our employees. So connecting to the community, I've had the pleasure to work with Mimi on some of the Community Health Needs Committee of the hospital. And we continue to look to develop more programs, to do outreach into the community, to provide community services, to enhance the wellness and well-being of the community. This is a picture of Melissa. She is a speech therapist who runs our stroke support program, and she's phenomenal. And this is Robert. He's from Goshen, and he was unfortunately had a stroke a while back. And I have him here because he was treated at Sharon Hospital, did amazingly well, regained really virtually most of his function, and now through therapy, and now he's actually part of our support group for stroke. So, and he loves the hospital. So again, that's really the end of the formal presentation. We certainly happy to have a dialogue and answer questions. But just to summarize, really top priorities, as I mentioned, physician recruitment, growing those key services for sustainability and to serve the community, and then focusing on the fundamentals, continuing to improve quality, improve safety, improve the patient experience, and improve employee engagement. Those are all comes together to strengthen our hospital. So, thank you. Yes, sir.
Yes, there's been a lot of criticism. There's been a lot of criticism of hospitals in general in the country about a patient goes to the hospital and wants to find out is his insurance company in network, and then is surprised that some of the physicians tending that patient are out of network, and that patient suddenly gets this increase in charges. What is Sharon Hospital, UVAS, Health West doing to prevent that from happening?
Thank you, great question, and I have heard that this was a concern, particularly because of the state line and crossing over. So one thing we have done is we virtually participate with every insurance company. There may be one, this is from the hospital side, not the physician side. There may be one or two that we're still negotiating with, and I believe they're actually on the New York side, not the Connecticut side. But we try to have participate with everybody. The other is the physicians that we employ participate with everybody, same as the hospital. And most of our physicians, to my knowledge, certainly in areas like anesthesia and emergency room, which is where the surprise bills have popped up in the past, they participate with all insurance companies as well. So that should not be happening. If it is, I certainly want to hear about it. I'll help navigate patients through that. And we also at the hospital have somebody who helps navigate as well as helps with insurance issues, and she's located at Sharon Hospital. Thank you. Yes?
Hi, my name is Lydia Moore. Hi, my name is Lydia Moore, and I'm a Sharon resident, and actually I have delivered 2 lovely children here, and my son was just born a few months ago, so he's part of that increase in the Q1. So I was wondering if you could give us a little bit more information on what exactly you're doing for both physician recruitment of OBs and then also patient recruitment to help with those numbers. Because my concern is that after July of last year, when HealthQuest and they were going to close maternity very suddenly and unprofessionally, I'm concerned that the community at large didn't understand that maternity was still open, and so people decided to deliver elsewhere rather than come here. And I know that from personal experience meeting other moms like in the community. So I was wondering if you could give us more information. Thank you.
Thanks, Lydia. You're great. Good baby. So what are we doing? So we have 3 OBGYN physicians on staff. One of them is employed by HealthQuest, and we have met with him to affirm that he's going to continue, and he has told us absolutely. And in fact, his volume of deliveries is up this year. The other are Sharon OBs, the Sharon OB group, and we certainly work with them. If in fact there is an issue and they no longer can be or don't want to be in Sharon anymore, we will recruit. Will it be an easy recruit? Absolutely not. Absolutely not. But we will make every effort we can to recruit, and that has been our commitment. Sorry? Additionally, just to answer the other part of your question, what have we done to make the area aware that we're still here? I think that we did not do a good job last autumn with this, and so we have put together a plan. We are in the local papers now. We are doing media as well as print, mailings, and those types of things. That's really ramped up in the past 2 months, so you should really be seeing that now. So maybe somebody here from marketing could comment further if you need more information on that. You want to say something?
I was just going to echo what you said, Denise, that we are running an advertising campaign in the market that reflects print and digital aspects. And of course, we have pretty robust information on the website. So, and again, people like you that help us spread that good word in the community is always involved.
Dr. Sharon. Hi.
I know we've had a rocky relationship with very time. That's not uncommon when 2 groups get together and they're trying to figure out how to live together and work together. And we had a rocky start. And from HealthQuest's perspective, this is a small volume delivery service. They came in, they looked at it, and perhaps the money might be better spent someplace else. They made that unfortunate decision, which I was going to read from the Lakewood Journal, but I decided not to. Because I don't think we need to rehash old wounds. And I've worked with Kerry, and we both have a commitment to sit down, look at the long-term viability. I mean, they're losing money on obstetrics now. A lot of that additional money lost, maybe because we lost a lot of nurses when they closed the maternity unit precipitously. And consequently, they have to hire traveling nurses, which are probably twice as expensive as regular nurses. So that has probably increased the cost. The availability of obstetricians to be available to help with cesarean sections. There's a lot of issues going on, and also long term. But Kerry and I have decided to really work together to see if we really can come up with a plan that will include doctors, hopefully some community members from here, to sit down and look at the long-term viability, what we can do, And because it really became apparent that the hospital, the community, and the doctors, the emergency room physicians particularly, felt they could not recruit quality ER doctors because of this thing called EMTALA. You cannot send a pregnant patient in labor. They expect you to deliver them because if something happens en route. So they don't want to have anything to do with obstetrics. So the ability to recruit quality obstetricians, et cetera. And your commitment to primary care. Believe it or not, we are a huge primary care area. We are primary care to many women. We don't necessarily treat everything, but we certainly refer and get them in. You know, if we see somebody who has something emergency, we will call the doctor and get them in the next day or that day if necessary. So we are a huge primary care. HealthQuest has made that commitment. They made that commitment originally when they signed the certificate of need to purchase the hospital, and they have personally reaffirmed it to me, and I believe them. So we're going to be working to go forward and see if we can make this happen.
Thanks, Dr. Sharon. Much appreciated. Any other questions? Yes, sir.
Any thought given to sleep studies?
Well, believe we used to do sleep studies, Peter, is that correct?
Yes.
And, you know, we could look at it again. I think the volume was dropping, which is, you know, wasn't sustainable in terms of, because those are very specially trained folks that, that are with you all night, as, you know, measuring all the activity. We can certainly look at it again, but I believe that that was the issue in the past.
We're just seeing more and more patients with BiPAPs and CPAP.
Yes, BiPAP, CPAP, sleep apnea, you know, I agree, yes, yes, thank you.
Thank you. 2 years ago, when you applied for your certificate of need, and the hearings were held here, HealthQuest made a very big pitch that they were excellent at physician recruitment. And that was one of their big selling points, because we had had some problems in the past about recruiting physicians. And they made a very big point that they said they knew the market, they could recruit physicians, they knew how to do it, they had the know-how. They committed to hiring, as I recall, 21.25 full-time equivalent physicians over the next 3 years. How are you doing on that? What is your scorecard on that 2 years into the process? Thank you.
Thank you. I'm not going to be able to answer that question with an absolute number. I would say we're probably about halfway there, if I had to guess. I would also say that, yes, I think we do have very talented ability to recruit, but we also want to recruit the right people that will stay. It's very difficult to recruit somebody, or damaging to recruit to the community, to have that person stay a year or two and leave. And we really want to invest the right physicians in the community that will become part of the community and help us grow. So I would say we're probably halfway there, but I don't know for a fact. I'd have to sit down and, you know, actually go through it. I mean, we saw a bunch up there just now, and I know that there was some, I believe, surgery last year, but I just don't know. I've only been here 4 months. I wouldn't want to mislead you. Yes.
Given the demographics of the area, I wonder if the hospital would consider development of a palliative care program.
Okay, so the question was, given the demographics, should the hospital develop a palliative care program? So we do have a board-certified palliative care physician at the hospital. I believe there is an outpatient practice that does some palliative care, but not enough. And really, palliative care is an outpatient service. What it does is really works with the patient and the family to keep them as healthy and sustained as possible without doing a lot of dramatic interventions. And a lot of it is support both for the family and for the patient through the journey. And so it probably is something we could look at a little bit more deeply. But really, I would like to suggest it really should be more outpatient focused, because what we want to do is keep the patients out of the hospital. So I don't know if that answers your question.
Sharon. Following our last event here, we attended a hearing in Danbury regarding the merger between the Nuance merger. And at that hearing, it was revealed that the Foundation for Community Health and HealthQuest had a very adversarial relationship. Since then, we, the citizens, have heard nothing from anyone about it. The success of the Certificate of Need hinges upon the relationship between the Foundation for Community Health and the Sharon Hospital through HealthQuest. What is the Sharon Hospital Board doing to bring about a reparation of this relationship?
Hi, I'm Carrie Eaton, and I'd be happy to take that one. Yes, the Sharon Hospital would really appreciate a really wonderful and healthy relationship with the foundation. The foundation is responsible for making recommendations for appointment to our board, so there's really a close tie-in written in the consent agreement or whatever the name of the document is that the state of Connecticut produces. The relationship between the foundation and Sharon Hospital really isn't the relationship that I think is at that we're talking about. The relationship and the problem in the relationship seems to be between the foundation and HealthQuest, the corporation. So it's really not a Sharon Hospital issue, and it's really not an issue for the Sharon Hospital, let me just finish, board. And we actually can't talk about it in a lot of detail because there's actual, foundation has counsel, and so there's not a lot we can talk about in a community forum such as this. But all I can tell you is, yeah, we would like for the relationship to be better. It's not helpful. It's a small community. I would love for it to be healthy. There's been work. I've worked personally with 2 members of the foundation in order to see if we could come to an amicable agreement, and it hasn't worked out. I wish that it had, and I wish that I could share all the details here, but I'm not at liberty to do so. It would be inappropriate for me to do that to the foundation and to Sharon Hospital and for HealthQuest. So I agree. We would like to get along. It's a small community. The foundation is a community. Sharon Hospital is a community. It's all one, and to the extent that we can sort of figure out how to go forward instead of be historians, I think, is in the health of the community and the best interest of the community. So I know that's not as much detail probably as everybody wants, but it's as much detail as I'm able to share today, and I apologize for that. It's honestly the best I think that I can do in terms of giving you information. I hope that helps.
Can you give us a little more clarification on the function, role of the board in relation to the community and to the whole board?
Right, so starting with Nuance, Nuance is comprised of 8 board members from the Legacy HealthQuest System Board and 8 members from the Western Connecticut Legacy Board. So that's kind of the grandparent or parent up here. The local board, so they are responsible overall for strategy, for financials and capital spending and the overall direction for the system, Nuance. The local board here, which is comprised of 12 board members who were recommended by the Community Foundation, plus myself and plus Dr. Soucier, so 14 of us all together. The role has been and continues to be overseeing quality at the hospital and overseeing credentialing for physicians. Also, the chair of the local board, Sharon, participates on the strategic, and this is new, participates on the strategic planning committee of the Nuance board. So they are at the table for looking at community need, but also services and what makes sense across the system. So that is essentially the role. Do I leave anything out, Carrie?
So how many of the local people are on the Nuance strategic group?
One, the chair or designee. The chair. There's also a member from the local board who participates on the Nuance Quality Committee. We have a local quality committee, and we also have a system quality committee, so it sits at that as well. I think that's what we're doing here today.
That's it, just the one, this is.
No, we have community forums. I'm sure that there is, discussions, informal discussions. I know, go ahead, you want to say something, Joel?
Yeah, there's a planning committee as a part of the Nuvance organization, and each chair of the 7 hospitals that make up Nuvance are members of the planning committee. So that Nuvance planning committee, made up of the chairs of each of the hospitals, inputs community feedback from each.
But that's not my question. My question is, who on the Sharon board is seeking community?
The chair, that's me, Joel Jones, the chair of the Sharon board, and my colleagues, the chairs of each of the hospital boards, the 6 other hospitals.
Right, so you are seeking out the temperature of the community, the information, the concerns. Is that what you're doing?
That's what I was the chair through Katie, me, and all the board members of the Sharon board, through all of our monthly board meetings and these committee meetings. That's what we exist for as a board. All that feedback that we every
And so
month.
how do you communicate what you're doing out to the community?
We get input from the communities and put it up through the Nuvance organization and the HealthQuest organization.
But you don't communicate directly back to the community itself?
But I think that's exactly what we're trying to do here.
Just this forum.
Yes, we have twice a year forums, yes.
The real reason we exist is to communicate from the community into the organization. The information back is things like this, through papers and town hall meetings.
So how do you get, how does the board communicate?
Through our board members in interactions in the communities on a daily basis in our role as board members.
Would it be possible for the board to actually print in the Lakeville Journal who you are and how to contact you? I had to ask, I had a list, I felt like I had to be a detective to find out how to communicate with the board, and that's so I just want I would be happy to bring that to our board.
We obviously want to answer the questions the community has, and so I'd be very interested. I'd be happy to meet with anybody who wants to would give me advice and give us advice about how you would prefer to be communicated with. The means in which we communicate with are very typical for how not-for-profit community hospitals communicate with their communities. It is through representation of community members who are volunteers on our board. It is through community forums. Generally speaking, it's pretty easy to call a hospital and ask to talk to a hospital president or our community relations personnel. That's very typical in all our hospitals. So the way that we communicate with our community in Sharon is really identical to the way that we communicate in all our other communities. If you have a different need or would like to be communicated in a different way, I would love to know what they are. Our board members are volunteers and private citizens and community members. It would be inappropriate for us to publish their personal information and personal contact information without their express consent. And it is atypical. So remember that they're volunteers, they're community volunteers. So I'm just trying to be respectful. The second thing that I would like to talk about, because we don't have any interest in hiding information from the community. We are here to serve you. We are doing the best we can to serve you. We know we don't always get it right. We know that we've stepped on some bombs. We understand that, and we can only go forward. And we are trying to do our best to serve the community. So that is our intention. Our intention is not to cause harm. Our intention is not to do terrible things to the community. We want to learn and understand from the community. We also every year do what is called a community needs assessment, or every 18 months, I forget what the frequency is. And in that community needs assessment, we actually poll the community in a formal way to understand what are the healthcare needs that are of interest to the community, what is their experience, what are their biggest concerns. We just recently, Krista, we completed the data collection about a couple of months ago, and right now we are in the process of working with the consultants that we hired to do this on our behalf to assimilate the data in order to give that information back to our Community Needs Assessment Committee, which is made up of community members, including Mimi, in order for us to understand what the priorities, the healthcare priority needs of the community are, so that we can put together ways to better meet those healthcare needs in the community. That is also a very typical way that communities, that hospitals seek to understand how they should be serving their communities by identifying what are the unmet health needs of the community that are underserved. So those are the ways that we meet with that we try to address the community needs, and that's the way that we interact with our board, our community needs assessment. We explore quality, make sure we're providing the highest quality board, and our board members populate our quality committees as well. So those are the ways that we do that.
Why can't there be an email that you, each board member, and it goes to the hospital address?
Say that again.
I believe your name is Mimi? Mimi, at Sharon Hospital. You know, don't you have a network, you have an address, why can't she have an email at that address that can be published?
We'd be happy at our next board meeting to talk about ways to give the community better access to our board members and get their advice about how they would like to handle it. So we'd be happy to, Joel, could we put that on the agenda? We'd be happy to do that. Yes.
Thank you, Carrie. I think the point that's being expressed is a very valid point. It's something that we have a very unusual relationship here, to the degree that the foundation, which was the recipient of the funds, the charitable funds, when the hospital was sold to the tune of some $25 million, had a fiduciary relationship to manage this money well. They made a decision to support the sale of this hospital by HealthQuest, and they put in $3 million in the purchase price and further committed another $6 million in capital and working capital over the next several years. So in a sense, that's our money. It belongs to the community, and therefore it's a special relationship. So when this board was set up, the local governing board, in which most of the members were nominated and approved by the hospital, but they were nominated by the foundation, we expected that they would speak for us and they would be open and communicate with us. When they didn't do it, we felt left behind. And that's the point that's being made in spades. All we want is open communication. When we don't get it, we think to ourselves, well, wait a second, what does the local board represent? Do they represent the foundation? Do they represent the hospital? If they represent the community, then they should speak for the community, and that means meet with us, communicate with us, share their minutes with us, as any other local board that's in a sense a locally based board that represents the community. That's what I think all of us really wanted to see. And when we didn't get it, we were very upset. And that leads to some of the miscommunication and some of the feelings that, Carrie, you're seeing here today for the first time. Thank you very much.
News to any of us that we've disappointed the community of Sharon and the surrounding community in the ways that we've communicated. Again, what I'm going to tell you is there's a lot of things that I'm not able to discuss because around the foundation, Joel has committed to putting this on the agenda about the ways that are appropriate. We communicate with this community in the same way that we communicate with all communities. There's not a whole lot more to tell than what we're telling you here. So I'm happy to explore different ways to do that. I'm happy to explore with our board other ways that you might have access to what they know. But you pretty much know what they know through this forum. There aren't any big pieces of information that you're not privy to. We do have these community forums. Our hospital contact information is available on websites, it's easily available. We're happy to meet with community members. I meet with community members, I meet with public officials, Service Denise, we do that in all of our communities. It's not that different here in Sharon than it is in our other communities, and I apologize for not meeting your expectations. And all I can do is say that we will continue to work on trying to do a better job of meeting your expectations going forward. I hope that's helpful. Other questions?
I understand from a nurse in the emergency department that it wasn't or isn't such a pleasant transition now that the emergency department is being run by an outside corporation. Would you explain the transition and how that's gone and staff that's left because of that and what's going on?
Sure. On April 1st, I believe it was April 1st, the physicians that worked in the emergency room that were HealthWest employees became Team Health employees. Team Health is a large organization of emergency room physicians. They are also providing services at Putnam Hospital, Vassar Medical Center, and Northern Dutchess Hospital. They are doing that pretty darn well. So we made offers to all the physicians to stay on board, signed a contract, and some of the physicians, for various reasons, left. And we have some new physicians that we are in the process of recruiting. But the emergency room is doing great. I get great feedback. I rounded the emergency room, I talked to patients, and the physicians are doing a great job. They're board certified in emergency medicine, and they're doing a great job.
That's where this gentleman's question came into play. We get 2 bills.
Well, you always get 2 bills, and that's true for probably every hospital in the United States at this point, because we can't commingle the physician bill with the hospital bill.
Well, when you take the information, I work as a registrar there. You go in, you give your insurance information, and then 2 months later, you get a bill from the emergency room physicians, and they say, we need your insurance information.
Well, that should not be happening anymore, because we do give the physicians a feed, an electronic feed, so that should not be happening anymore. They get an electronic feed with all the data to bill. Yes, sir.
The recent issue of Connecticut Magazine had a survey, which they do every year, of the top doctors in the state of Connecticut. And clearly, it's weighted towards Greenwich, Yale, New Haven, and Hartford. It's like we don't have any great doctors in this area. I'm wondering to what extent, if you want to go for the best, can you improve our standing? And secondly, to my knowledge, the only doctor recognized on that list as an expert was Dr. Soucier, but he's listed in Yale, New Haven, not Sharon Hospital. I wonder why there's that discrepancy.
Sorry, I don't understand. He's from...
I'm saying the only doctor I saw was Dr. Soucier, who's not identified with Sharon, but with Yale, New Haven. So I'm wondering why that's true.
I don't know.
Well, he's here.
He went to take care of patients.
That's his brother.
Oh, his brother.
Number 2, you need to have a lot of doctors voting, and we don't have a lot of doctors even able to vote. So they ask the doctors, who would you vote for best doctor? And you're at Yale New Haven Hospital, you got 900 doctors. So somebody get 400 votes. What do you got? How are we going to get enough votes to get in the top 5? I can tell you that we do what they call prestige scores, which is basically after the patient comes in, they, you can't go to any place anymore without getting, please fill out a survey. I mean, anyway, so, and my Sharon GOM was consistently, time after time, the #1 doctor providers in the state. And we're part of a big group in South Connecticut, which is 200 doctors. Number 2, I might say our obstetrical service for years was voted, because again, this is small numbers, because we were the top obstetrical maternity service in all of New England, not just Connecticut. So numbers, it's a voting population. So anybody can take the numbers, and so, I mean, we can say we're the best maternity service in the state, in New England, but that's with 25 people. And we didn't have any complaints. So that, I think it's a lot of just numbers.
So it's fake news.
Thank you.
Thanks, Dr. Schnur.
Now, Sharon. I guess a couple of comments. First about the magazine. I think the magazine suffers from the same phenomenon that a lot of parts of the state of Connecticut suffer from. They don't even know the northwestern corner exists. And they probably don't even know the northeastern corner exists either, because there's not a lot of people that go to those places. But my other comment is, I wonder if it's possible to summarize what the effect of the nationwide drug epidemic is on the patient-provider area for Nuveen, on our hospitals, our emergency rooms, and our ambulance squads and ambulance personnel.
Okay, I can't comment on Nuvance, but I can comment for our community here. Dr. Santos and I took a look at this recently and also met with our EMS providers, and because we were very surprised to see less folks coming into the hospital with opioid problems. And that surprised us. So it led us to meet with the EMS community to talk to them about what they're seeing. And they are seeing less also. So what's going on? So I think one thing that's going on is the Narcan, the drug is and it's available now. You can get it at schools and different places. They teach you how to use it. I think people are self-administering Narcan, or their friends are administering Narcan, that they're not coming to the hospital. They're being rescued. That may catch up with them eventually, but we definitely saw, I think it was like less than a decline of way less than 5 patients, just a few patients. So that's not to say it's not a very significant problem. It is absolutely a significant problem. And something that we all need to work on. So we are working with Nuvance on the whole behavioral health domain of what we need to do. And obviously a big component of that is counseling and outpatient types of programs for opioid addiction, along with other behavioral issues. And thank you. Okay, it is 10 after 10. I do thank you all for the opportunity to meet with you and to hear your feedback. It is very important. We do take it very seriously. I do certainly want to work very closely with the Community Foundation, so I look forward to resolution on that front. Meantime, I'm here. My door's open. Yesterday I met with a gentleman for about an hour in my office. He happened to be from Millerton, and gave me his thoughts on the hospital and what the needs were. So I'm starting to also reach out to community and community groups as well. So I thank you for your participation and for your feedback, and thank you for being here. And thank you for supporting Sharon.